Hi everyone. Let's talk about dividing, right? The last frontier of dividing. It's when there are decimals in the divisor. That means out in the yard. Now, remember, when you have a decimal in the divisor or out in front of the house, you have got to clean it up. Clean up the poo, right? We cannot have decimals out in front. All right, so let's talk about how we do that. Here's our first problem. Right? We'll call it 54 divided by 3/10. Now, the reason we have to clean that up is because I don't know how many groups of 3/10 are in 54. I don't know my 3/10 times tables. So what we do is we try and write this as a fraction. We put the horse down below, and we put the cowgirl up on top, and we clean up that mess using the powers of 10. Now that's 3/10, so I need to multiply by 10. Get it? Tenths multiply by 10 will give you a whole number. That whole number is 3. It just moves the decimal one spot over, and that makes 3 a whole number. Right? So we don't usually write the decimal for a whole number, but if we did, it would be right there. Right? It moved from in front of the 3 to behind the 3. Now, if we multiply that by 10, we have to multiply the numerator, or the cowgirl, by 10. And again, we're going to write the number, and we're going to move the decimal over one place value. It's going to get bigger by one place value. And what goes there is a 0. Right? So we've just made an equivalent fraction. This was our old division problem. This is our new division problem. And we can show that up here by just doing this. I multiplied this by 10. I cleaned up the poop. Erase. I also multiplied this by 10. It made another place value. So I'm going to fill that in with a 0. Now the last thing you need to do is recognize, like, oh, there's still this poo in the house. We need to flush. And it goes right up on top of your answer. That really just holds our place value. So remember now, this is our hundredths place. This is our tens place. This is our ones place. So now we're able to do the division, right? Now we're just dividing by 3, and that's easy, right? It's easy for us to divide by 3. It's something we've been doing for a long time. So I'm just going to erase these things down here, and let's do the division. All right. So 3 will go into 5 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to fill in all these spaces with zeros, and I'll subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4, and 5 minus 3 is 2. I'm going to try and write my 2 in the right place. There we go. Now I'm going to start again, right here. How many groups of 3 come out of 2? None. So I go to the next place value, 24. How many groups of 3 come out of 24? Turns out to be 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So I will take 8 times 3, or 24, away from 24. Subtract. Now I'm also going to fill in this 0 so everything stays lined up, and I subtract and I get, it looks like I'm done. But look, I still have this spot up here. What do I need to put there? I need to fill it in with a 0. I can get 0 groups of 3 out of 0. So there, I mean, the hardest part about that was actually doing the division. Moving the decimal was pretty easy. Let's try another one. Here I've got a decimal out in the yard, a horse poo out in the yard, but it's 2 places out there. So how am I going to get this decimal cleaned up? How am I going to get it all the way over here where I don't have to show it, where I can think of that as a 4? Well, again, let's just write it down here. I'm going to say I have 4 hundredths, and I have, oh my gosh, there's a decimal there too. That's okay. 128 hundredths. And this is the horse poo. This is what I need to clean up on the bottom, the denominator, right here. That's what I'm worried about. So I'm going to multiply that by, well, I need it to move 2 places, so I'm going to multiply it by 100. Get it? It's 4 hundredths right now. Multiply by 100 gives me the whole number I want, right? And the decimal would be after there, after the 4, behind the ones place. Now I'm going to multiply this by 100 also, because I need It was the horse that I need to clean up. So that's how I decided to use 100. Here, I'm going to multiply by 100, and what's going to happen? Well, the decimal's also going to move 2 places. So this is going to make 128, right? I'm going to point that out again. The decimal moved 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, because I multiplied by 100. So here's my new problem, right? I've got this brand new division problem. Now, one way we can show this instead of doing all this fraction stuff is I can just come up here and say to myself, I'm going to multiply this by 100. Let me erase this. Remember, the decimal was right there. And what I would say is I'm going to multiply this by 100 and move the decimal 2 places over, right? And that effectively gets rid of the decimal. I can just erase it, and I don't need that 0 anymore. The other thing to remember is if I multiply the horse by 100, I'm going to multiply this by 100 also. And now my decimal moves over there, and I can erase it. All right? So now that I've multiplied both the horse and the cowgirl by 100, I've moved the decimal in both numbers. I can just multiply like a normal problem. In fact, I'm going to erase all this stuff down here. And let's do the multiplication again. 4 will not go into 1, so I will go to the next place value. How many groups of 4 can I take out of 12? 3. Remember, I need a number above every one of these digits. 3 times 4 is 12, and I'm going to fill in my 0 and subtract my 3 groups of 4. 8 minus 0 is 8. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. And now I'm left checking. I have 4, and I want to see how many groups of 4 will come out of 0. None. I go to the next place value. 0, none. I go to the next place value. How many groups of 4 will come out of 8? The answer is 2. 2 times 8 is 8. I subtract, and I'm done. There's no remainder. And that's your answer, right? Now, it's the same answer to the problem we started with, too. Remember, we started with 4 hundredths divided by 1 and 28 hundredths. The answer that we have is equivalent, right? These two problems are equal. So the answer to this is also 32. Okay? All right, one last problem, we'll be done. What happens when there's already a decimal in the denominator? Well, right, let's just do this without the fractions. I am going to multiply, I'm going to clean up this horse poo out here, right there, and I'm going to do that by multiplying by 10, because I only needed to move 1 place. I'm going to multiply this by 10. There. I'm going to pop that decimal straight up. That's where my answer goes. I'm going to get out my eraser, and I'm going to erase these old decimals. I don't need those anymore. And now it's just a division problem, right? 25 divided by 5 is 5. There. All you got to remember is to move those decimals. Clean up that poo. All right. Good luck, y'all.